Today we are doing something different. I am a complete SpaceX fan. I think it's a fantastic company doing fantastic things. The idea of making rockets that are fully and rapidly reusable is a no-brainer. And finally, there's a company that is serious about reusability and making the human race multi-planetary. Just incredible. And I think this is the best part. Starship, currently being developed. When this monster rocket launches, it will be the biggest and the most powerful rocket ever launched. It's just a pity about that logo. I don't want to criticize a company that I greatly admire, but that logo has bugged me for a long time, and it's easy to fix. So that is what we are doing today. We are fixing the SpaceX logo. For clarity, this logo revamp is not endorsed by SpaceX in any way. This is purely an exercise. It's about learning to become better logo designers ourselves by analyzing and improving an existing logo. You can do this with any logo. It's a great learning exercise. Obviously, you're not going to put this in your portfolio. It's just learning and practicing. Other people have done this. I looked at some SpaceX redesign ideas that people have posted on the internet, and we are not doing any of that. I think these guys went overboard. In the real world, a radical redesign is rarely the best option. People know and love the old logo. Throwing it in the trash and starting over, well, it's not stupid, but it's close. You have to have a real disaster of a logo before a complete redesign is the best option. No, what we want is the old logo, minus the mistakes. If we do a good job, most people won't even notice the change. They will just like the logo more than before, and they won't even know why. That's the goal. Okay, so this is the current SpaceX logo that I reproduced in vector format based on what I'm seeing on the rockets and what SpaceX is using on their website. It has some good qualities. I like the futuristic looking typeface. It has a space flight vibe, similar to the famous NASA worm logo. And believe it or not, I like the swoosh. Now, before you immediately unsubscribe, normally I agree, swooshes are bad. They are massively overused in cheap logos, but this one is different. In this logo, the swoosh actually has a purpose and a meaning. It shows the arc of a rocket launch. It's cool that we have that in the logo. It has to stay. We're going to update it, but we can't delete it from the logo. Those are the good things. Now for the mistakes. Why, oh why, would you cut out parts of the X and the E and the A and then not cut the P in a similar way? And maybe the S too. Perhaps the reason is legibility. Perhaps they felt that this would just be more easily readable than that. But then they did this to the letter A, so I don't think they were too concerned with legibility. If you can do that to the A, you can do this to the P, right? So that's the first thing that needs fixing. That P has to get on board with the rest of the design like that. I hope you agree that that's a no-brainer. We have to think about the rounding of the corners, but we'll get back to that. I want to first fix the mistakes. Then at the end, we will go over it again and harmonize everything. I think I will leave the original logo up here and our revamp here, so we can track the changes we are making. Okay, now the letter S. Should we do the same with the letter S? This is not as clear-cut. The P is still obviously a P, even at small sizes, like when the logo is far in the distance. Not so for the S. The letter S has two close relatives, the B and the E. If we mess around with the letter S too much, then people might misread it as a B or an E. So I think it's a no. It makes sense to keep the S. I don't see major issues with the A or the C. We will leave them as is for now. We'll fix the kerning right at the end. Actually, I wondered about the A and tried some variations. I like the idea of having a rocket nose cone shape for the A. That might work, but it might also be too radical. And I tested the letter A more closely related to the P, but I don't think that works. That one seems a little boring. Next, the letter E. Notice that the crossbar of the E is not in the middle. And honestly, I don't see any good reason for that. Why is it up there? Let's just drop it into place. There. Fixed. Now it has a family resemblance to the other guys. That's like a family portrait with one weirdo who wanted to be in the family picture. This is now one family. The E now fits in. Actually, I would make that bar slightly longer as well. That's even better. Moving on to the X. We are keeping the swoosh, but we are not keeping the shard. A shard is a very thin, very sharp point. And man, we really have a sharp point here. If we zoom in on this, it is ridiculously sharp. Now just imagine if this is a sticker. Imagine you are the sticker guy at SpaceX and your job is getting this logo on the rocket, including that infinitely thin point. And it's not just about stickers, obviously. There's a whole long list of ways that this logo has to work in the real world. Even some embroidery. And every time the folks who have to make this logo work have to solve that problem. Every time. We can actually see what they did. Look at this. In almost every case, they are blunting the tip. They just ignore the last bit of the shard. You can't blame them. There's just no way to embroider a shard. This is terrible. It is a design problem that people on the ground have to repeatedly fix. It should be fixed in the design. Now, let me just clarify. The point is not that we want to make life as easy as possible for the logo reproduction guys. That would be nice, but that's not the point. The point is we want the logo to be used. Maybe, just maybe, there are times when SpaceX did not put the logo on a particular piece of hardware because they couldn't make it work. Someone said, why don't we have the logo on here? Someone else replied, we tried. We just really couldn't. Screw it. I'm not saying that is what's happening, but if it is, if that happens year after year, it adds up. The logo isn't doing what logos do. It's not getting seen, not as often as it should. When it is really important to have the logo on something, like on the actual rocket, they make it work, but it's a pain every time. They have to solve the problem every time. So the solution is, give the reproduction people what they've been forced to create. Blunt that shard, like that. Actually, I would take it further, maybe this far. It is almost inevitable that that swoosh will shrink over time. 10 or 20 years from now, this is what the swoosh will look like anyway. So let's just make it so now. Then a logo like this could actually go in the center of the beam instead of being squished in like this. This is a really cool photo, by the way. You can get a nice sense of scale, seeing the rocket with the people working around it. And this isn't even the big one. This is just a humble Falcon 9 rocket. The Starship is much bigger. Okay, that takes care of the letter shapes. Now we have to harmonize everything. And this photo nicely shows us the next problem, alignment. SpaceX builds rockets and need the logo on the rockets. So often this logo will be used in a stacked layout like this. Now, if the 6 letters of your company name fit neatly into boxes like this, then everything is easy. But with SpaceX, the letters don't fit neatly into boxes. Even if we ignore the swoosh, if we stack them, you can see the boxes are all over the place. Why are the A and the E narrower than the rest? Look at that. I'll be honest, you don't really notice that when you look at the rocket. I mean, it has flames coming out of it, so you are usually kind of distracted, right? You don't focus on the logo mistakes, but we might as well fix this. It doesn't have to be wonky. There, fixed. To be fair, there is a reason why the E is narrower. With its 3 horizontal bars, it can appear wider than the rest, visually, even though it is the same size. They made it narrower so that it appears equal. Fair enough, but if you're also using the logos stacked, then I'd rather have them exactly equal. We can fix the problem of it appearing wider with the treatment of the terminals. We'll get to that next. First, let's think about the width of the X. This one is not so easy. If we just squish the X into its box, it appears very narrow, much narrower than the other letters. So here I think it should be slightly wider than the other letters. Not as wide as the original, maybe about halfway there. And this letter is at the base of the stack. Having something slightly wider at the base is fine. It might even be a bonus, adding some stability to the stack. Okay, all that's left now is thinking about the rounding of the terminals. These points where letters end are called terminals. So SpaceX has these half-rounded terminals on some of the letters. If we take that as a guide and apply it consistently, then the P is rounded here, the E is rounded here. Actually, I would round all 4 outer corners of the E. That neatly takes care of the E appearing wider than the rest. I would also round the A slightly here. Done. There is an alternative. I thought about having all these curves go up. The top terminal of the S flips upside down like that, and the P and the E. Up is more positive than down, right? That's an option, but we want to stay close to the original, so I think we should go with the first option, like that. And we are done. SpaceX logo fixed. Before you go, let me clarify one thing. I cannot now put this SpaceX logo redesign in my portfolio. That would be potentially deceptive. I don't want to create the impression that I am the big shot designer who created the SpaceX logo. It was an exercise. If you include it in your portfolio, it must be very obviously included as an exercise. There should be no possibility of confusion. Like a separate section of your portfolio very clearly marked as exercises. Okay, that was the SpaceX logo redesign. We'll do more in the future. Instead of just showing you mistakes in your own logos, I think it could be helpful if we occasionally take one of your logos and really work on it. Work out all the solutions instead of only identifying mistakes. That's it from me for this video. Remember to subscribe if you haven't yet, and thanks for watching.